So, welcome to Reboot. My name is Kelly Slessor, and I'm delighted to be hosting this event brought to you by the City of Sydney. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, traditional owners of the land, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, as well as acknowledging that we're all here today on different lands, and so acknowledge the traditional owners of all the lands from wherever you join us today. And I'm privileged and honoured each week to be able to do that. If this is your first Reboot session, welcome, welcome. Hopefully this is going to be a good one, she says herself. If you're coming back and you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you for rejoining. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the fact that you've come back. Reboot series is a series of 9 free business webinars developed in response to the pandemic to support business recover, rebuild, engage, and grow their customers and revenue. They're weekly masterclasses with some of Australia's leading business experts to share their knowledge on topics like digital channels, branding, storytelling, purpose building, and growth strategies, brought to you by the City of Sydney. And I'm your host, MC, and today I'm actually presenting as well, so we'll get into that in a second. There are 9 events in total happening Tuesdays from, hello Renata, how are you? It's so lovely to have you here, or open-minded. Happening Tuesdays 12 to 1 p.m, and today is session 2. 7 more to come, so jump on the link and book your sessions in. We literally have some phenomenal speakers. I thought last year was good. This year is just insane. And I really can't believe that I call this a job. The link will be posted in the chat. All right. Sessions are all recorded and EDMs are sent to you during the week. I think Thursday, but during the week, with a link to the recording and the session. So if you miss any critical pieces, you can always go back and rewind. And my hack is always put the speaker on speed to 1.5, and then you can get through them even quicker. I'm all about time hacks, and I will give you some digital time hacks today. At the end of the session, I'm just going through my notes. At the end of the session, there's a few housekeeping stuff. At the end of the session, it's lucky I don't have to tell you where the toilets are or anything, because that would be too hard. At the end of the session, we'll post in the chat a link to the survey. We'd love for you to fill that in and give us some feedback. Any advice on how we can improve the series? There's 7 more left to go. Feedback is an absolute gift, and this is about you. It's about your businesses. So if we can improve these series, these sessions in any way, shape, or form, please, please, please let us know. And good feedback as well. So for the speakers that we're bringing on, it's great for them to hear what they did well. Validation is also a gift. So today I am hosting and presenting. So I have 2 jobs, and I'll really try not to stuff any of them up. Although Will Edwards last week, if you haven't watched that session, the man is an absolute genius and just gave some gold insights and tips last week. So if you haven't watched that session, go back and watch the recording. He is an extremely tough act for me to follow. So I will do my best. I'm going to be covering planning digital strategies. I'm going to be giving you some time hacks to save you time on some of the biggest pains I see in growing digital presence. I'm going to be helping you increase your revenue from online. And I'm going to help you understand a little bit more about how we deal with things like SEO and content production. There is a Q&A function, so you can use that on the webinar today. Please write your questions in the Q&A. It's down here somewhere. Have a look along the bottom, not in the chat, because we have to then copy and paste from chat to Q&A so that I can see them. So sometimes things get missed. I will try and get to all of your questions. There is no stupid questions in digital. Anything from building an app to Facebook likes, I've had them all. So there are no stupid questions. Please, please, please use this as an opportunity to ask those tough questions that keep you up at night, or maybe they don't. We will answer the questions at the end of the session. All right, a little introduction about me. This is always weird because you're normally introducing someone else, but anyway, I'll go for it. I've been in retail and technology pretty much all of my career. I started in retail and technology around 20 years ago. I've been saying that for a number of years, but I'm going to keep going with the number 20 because it makes me feel younger. I started in the UK in a big telco company working on Sainsbury's, the store of the future. So it's equivalent to Woolworths here. I came to Australia. I ran a mobile marketing company. I worked with David Jones, Diageo, some of the big brands. And then over the pandemic, I then went to work at Westfields and I worked with them as their digital consultant. So I got to go into some of the big brands and some of the independent, small individual brands, you know, the local brands like yourselves. And I got to work with them. And that's where I found my passion, I suppose, for helping small to medium-sized businesses grow. During COVID, I built and launched in conjunction with Lendlease, a click and collect platform that allowed local businesses to sell online during the COVID, during a pandemic. I built that in 8 weeks and took that to market, and we launched it and helped businesses. Over the pandemic, I've worked with over 1,000 small businesses, mainly retailers. E-commerce is my sweet spot, but don't worry, if you're not e-commerce, you will still get a lot out of today, because for me, e-commerce is kind of at the forefront of kind of selling online. So all of the tips that I use for e-commerce can be applied across accountants, gym, lawyers, whoever you might be. So I'll give you a bit of a refresh today on what's happening in the industry, and I'll give you some tips and tricks that you can implement in your business. We also have 2 case studies coming up. So I'll give you some real live feedback online on their businesses. So thank you to the 2 businesses that have put themselves forward. All right, I think that's enough about me. Now, back to you. All right, let me share my screen. And let's get into this. God, we've got a big crowd on today. It's awesome. Now, just making sure, can everybody see my screen? Hopefully. All right, just dump in the chat. Okay, so we know online traffic is growing. We had a huge growth year on year last year. 91% of the population are now online. What I find fascinating is that websites on page 2 of Google get less than 1% of that traffic. So we've got all of these people online looking for potentially your businesses, wherever that may be, but less than 1% of that, if you're not on page 1, is going to you. So we're going to try and fix that today. 60% of traffic is from a mobile device. The one thing I find really fascinating is we often check our websites on a desktop, not on mobile. Now, actually 60% is kind of a general stat, but the businesses I work with in e-commerce, it's actually closer to 70% of traffic comes from a mobile device. So one of the things I will urge you to do today, and this is an action session, by the way, I'm not a theorist. I don't talk about this stuff. It's a doing session. So as much as you can do in this hour you have, I will feel like I'm adding value to your business if you can do while we're on the session. So just checking your mobile site and making sure that it's easy to navigate is really important for your customer. Acquisition costs are through the roof. They've increased by 60% over the past few years. So when I talk about acquisition costs, I mean paying Facebook, paying Google, paying anyone to drive traffic to your website is really, really, really expensive. It's on average around $30 to $45 per person across the board. Now, for a lot of you, that cost does not make any sense to your business at all. And I hear time and time again, businesses who are spending money on digital, spending money on ads. I had a business that approached me the other day, $7,000 on ads they'd spent with absolutely zero return. It's happening too often. And it's one of the things I'm trying to fight in the industry, because you know, I think it's very easy to pour money down this dark hole of online ads. The noise in digital is driving the cost of acquisition up and conversions down, and businesses are feeling more overwhelmed by digital than ever before. Hopefully that's not you, but I'm sure, judging by the numbers we've got joining this call today, there are a lot of businesses out there feeling the pain. Search. So the first place that we go, one of the first places we go to find you as a business, whatever business you are, whether you're an accountant, a gym, selling donuts, is Google. We go to Google, and I talk a lot about Google and Google search and how important it is to your business. And what I find that small businesses do, they look at this and then it drops off the radar. And then they come back about a year later to one of these sessions, they go, oh yeah, I need to remember search. It is one of the most important things you can do for your business to help grow your traffic and your revenue, whatever that looks like to you, because we are all online searching for businesses every single day. 46% of searches have local intent. So when I say that, what I mean is 46% of us who are searching now, hopefully not now because we're on here, or maybe who are searching now for, last week I searched for, I think one of my kids needed trainers or football boots. It was football boots. Searching for football boots. I'm not looking for football boots generally on the internet across the globe. I'm looking for football boots in my local area that we can go and try on. So 46% of us are doing it with local intent. So we need to make sure that we're being found locally. There are a ridiculous amount of searches going on. We've got 1.7 million people searching for hairdressers every month, 20.9 million searches for restaurants, 500,000 searches for nail salons. And the biggest growth we are seeing in digital is for searches for near me. So again, going back to that local person, local to your suburb, wherever that may be, they are searching for near me because they're looking for accountants, gyms, lawyers, whatever it might be, opals. They're looking for those services and products near to them. So what we want to do is make sure that anyone that searches near me is finding your business. There are three components, and having worked with over 1,000 businesses and driven over $10 million in revenue for small to medium businesses last year, I know that there are three components to making this digital stuff work. And the three components are customer. So knowing who your customer is. Without knowing who your customer is, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, your acquisition costs are going to grow through the roof. If I was in the centre of Sydney now, and I walked up and down the high street of Sydney, it's a very British word, I walked up and down Pitt Street Mall and said to everyone, I'm a solicitor, or I'm an accountant, or whatever it might be, here's $5, come and visit me. I'm going to spend a hell of a lot of money trying to get people to come and visit me who don't necessarily want an accountant, a lawyer, a gym, a ice bath. I don't know where that's come from. I was doing some exercise yesterday, so that's obviously on my mind, who don't necessarily want those services. However, if I know the people I'm looking for as I'm walking up and down Pitt Street Mall, and there's a little tag on their head that says, I recently searched for an accountant, I'm looking for someone to fix my Xero account, I can give them money and tell them to come to my business. I'm much more likely to get a better return on investment doing it that way. It's exactly the same online. So we're going to look at how we identify that customer. The second piece is connection. We have to develop platforms that connect with customers. So that's getting easier and easier as technology gets better and better and easier to implement, and it's getting cheaper to do it as well. And the third thing is we need to build out content that once they've come to our platforms, or that drives them to our platforms, that they connect with us and have a great experience and know exactly what it is we do and who we serve. Before I get into that, I just want to quickly touch on some major trends that are going to happen this year, that we're already seeing happening this year, that are fundamentally going to impact the way in which you do business. So the first one is Google Analytics. So Google Analytics is changing platform. So how many of you, just jump in the chat, how many of you use Google Analytics for your business? Just jump in the chat and put a yes, you use it. Awesome. Perfect. All right, we've got a smart crowd here. I'm happy. All right, how many of you have made the move to GA4, the new Google Analytics platform? Not yet. No, not yet. Not sure. Not yet. Okay. All right. So one of the things, I'm seeing a lot of not yets in there, which is standard. One of the things that's going to happen this year is there will be a move from the existing Google platform to a new Google platform. It's happening in July. You will lose your historic data if you don't save it somewhere. So for those of you that are currently using Google Analytics in the UA version, the old version, you're going to lose that data. So we need to get you transferred over as quickly as possible. So for those of you that haven't transferred, I would do it now as an absolute priority. Two things that I think are really important to note in that move from old Google Analytics to new Google Analytics. One is the way in which Google records a user on your website is going to change. So we used to record sessions. And when I talk about sessions, without getting too technical and boring the hell out of you and having everyone jumping off, when I talk about sessions, it's basically I click on your website, I'm a session. You don't really care who I am, you don't care what I'm doing, I'm just a session. Google used to report on that. Now it's going to report on me as an active user. So active user being I'm engaging with your content, I'm looking at your pages. It's going to change the fundamental dynamics of how we're doing digital. So it's really important that we get moved across. It's an absolute pain in the backside. And it's going to be a bit of a painful process for small businesses to do. Google haven't really thought this through, but it is going to make it easier for you down the track to measure whether social's working for you, to measure whether that video you put on YouTube or that email that you sent out with a little link inside, it's going to make all of that stuff easier to measure so that going forward, you can put more time and energy into the stuff that's actually going to make you money and give you a return on investment. So that's quickly Google. Second one I'm going to touch on is security. We all know the amount of hacks that happened last year with some of the biggest platforms in Australia and the world. We're going to see more of it. There are something like, I can't remember the stat, 45 million, there were 45 million attacks last year, I think it was, something ridiculous. If you type in website hacking, there are courses now that you can go and do that will show you how to hack a website. Like it's literally insane. I think the first one that comes up is a course on how to hack a website. If you're on a WordPress platform, it's so much easier. If you're not keeping it up to date, it's much easier for people to hack it. So security is going to become really important this year, and keeping your websites up to date is just going to be a really important exercise. I know it adds another painful admin process to what you're already doing, but it is going to be a really important process that we're going to need to get on top of this year to protect our customer data. The last one that I want to talk about, and for me, the absolute most exciting, is AI. Now, some of you would have heard of ChatGPT. Anyone using ChatGPT in their business? Yep, brilliant. All the time, love it. Just started, absolutely loving it. Great. Okay, because this one, let me just go back. This one is a game changer. So I've been working on AI for about 6 years. I actually developed an AI platform about 6 years ago. And at the time, we had to use very, clunky, very expensive tools to do AI. The stuff that I built in 2 years, basically I could build in a few weeks now with the new platforms coming out, which makes me very sad, but very excited at the same time. Just to give you context for this, Netflix took 3.5 years to get to 1 million users. ChatGPT took 5 days. It's now at 100 million users. And my son's used it to help build a website and build content. When you've got a 12-year-old and a 60-year-old using it, you know it's going to be a game changer. You know, and that's what Facebook did. That's what Instagram did. You've got 60-year-olds and 12-year-olds using it, and everyone in between. So we're fundamentally changing history at the moment, which is exciting. And I'm going to show you quickly a couple of, for those of you that haven't used it, I'll show you very quickly at the end how to integrate it. But it is fundamentally going to change the industry. I used to write articles which would take me 3 or 4 hours to write. I can now write an article in about 30 minutes. I'm not a writer. It's my worst skill ever. Content writing is terrible for me. All right, so customer. I want to just quickly talk about your customers. So when a customer comes to your website, the first thing they are doing is looking for clues as to why they shouldn't do what it is you want them to do. Weirdly, I know it sounds crazy, but if you think about it, as a child, your parents or your grandparents or someone taught you that spending money is bad. Now, I'm coming at this from a very e-commerce perspective, but you can apply this to any business. Spending money is a bad thing. So in our head, we've built up these neurological pathways that say what we're about to do is bad. And what we do is look for clues to justify that thought process is right. And as soon as we see some clues, 3 or 4 clues that say, yes, what you're doing is a bad thing, we jump out. It's our natural reaction. Years and years of neural pathways built up, we jump out of that website. So what we do in digital is we try and shift those pathways. We try and turn them around by using little clues, working out what the issue is that our customers have got, what the pain points are they might have with our service or with what they're looking for. And then we try and turn that around. You can't do that unless you know who your customer is. So the first thing we do in digital is really understand our customer. And for those of you that, I know there's quite a few of you that have been through this process with me before, that have either been on my courses or worked with me privately, this is something to revisit time and time again. Every few months, every 6 months, revisit who your customer is. And if you haven't done this before, just jot down, who is your customer? What do they do? What are their favorite brands? What are their biggest frustrations and what are they looking for? Remember, one ideal customer is equal to 204 low value customers. So the more targeted we can get online, the better we can get with identifying who our ideal customer is, the more money we're going to save and the more money we're going to make, which is what I want to do. So what I want you to just quickly do while I'm talking, I said this was an action session. Sorry for those that didn't think they were going to do any work today. I just want you to list your top 5 keywords. And when I say keywords, it's the things that your customers search for to find you or a competitor. Now, I'll give you an example. Football boots. I searched for football boots. I didn't search for technical football studs with, we often name our products with really technical services with really technical names. I search for an accountant for small business. I don't search for an accountant that does ethical tax returns. I don't even know if that's the thing. I just made it up. But anyway, it could be. I don't search for that. I search for accountant for small business. What are the 5 top things your customers search for in relation to you? Just jot those down. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is your website. And we'll get into this more when we do the case studies, and I'll show you how we do this. But my absolute go-to best website in the world ever, my favorite website of all time is Tileco in the UK. Now, it's based in Europe. Now, if I could bring them here, I would do. So I'm just going to quickly show you some of the things they do, which makes them the best website in the world ever. So the first thing they do is there is movement. As humans, we need 2 things. We need real world connection, and COVID took that away from us, but we still need it. We also need to see how a service or product acts in the real world, in our lives. So you often, have any of you recently gone and looked at a house, either buying a house or renting a property, or, you go in and what they do is they try and make it as clean and clear and as comfortable as possible, because they want you to be able to visualize what it could look like in your space. Exactly the same on your website. And if you're a service business, what could that service make me feel? What could that service do for me? How do we depict that online so that when I go there, I'm already got this feeling of, yes, this is the right one for me. These wardrobes are perfect for me. The next thing they do is strong call to actions. We often on our websites miss out on strong call to actions. Shop now. We often put things like click here, more info. What is it you want them to do? Tell them. But customers, we're lazy. We're really quite lazy. Tell us what you need us to do. Make it simple. Down here, what they have done is implemented some of those detractors from that neurological pathway that I talked about. So they've reversed engineered it. So one of the things that I question when I go to this site is, how much is delivery going to cost me? Because I know my local furniture delivery shop is going to charge me about $100. And that's a detractor for me. So immediately they've told me you've got free delivery. The next thing is, I've never used this brand before. I don't know if it's going to be the right product for me. Well, that's great, because they've already told me that they're going to give me 100-day free returns. So I can return it. And I've got social proof that other people love their service and product. 100,000 happy customers. I'm sure all of you have served thousands, hundreds, tens of customers who are happy. So being able to state that on your website gives that customer that feeling of, okay, this is a great service. This is a great business that I want to do business with. If we come down here, again, they're showing great imagery. They've got a 25% off at the moment. But here, they've got in things like built to last, simple assembly. Again, how long is this going to take me to put together? We've all had those IKEA moments where we go, oh my goodness, how long is this going to take? Simple assembly. I'm reverse engineering that negative connotation associated with what I'm going to do, which is spend a lot of money on this website. They're showing real world examples of people using my product and my service. And down here, they've got social proof from companies that have talked about them. So if you're a service business and you've had articles written about you, show those articles. They also have a whole page dedicated to reviews. So I can go here and see how great an experience other customers have had with my business. So just putting reviews on your site is going to, again, reverse that pathway. So we'll go through that more when I go through the case studies. But they're kind of the top main things that these businesses are doing to help engage people. And if you go back to what I was saying about Google, engagement is going, and GA4 engagement is going to be absolute key. So let me just move this on. There you go. All right. So content. I think about content in terms of acquisition. How are our customers finding us, and where can I put great content? We've already talked about search. So the first thing people do is search for your business. They search for flowers near me. They search for gym near me. They search for restaurant near me. They search for bar near me. How do you show up when people search for that? I'm going to get you all to do one quick little exercise. Go to Google, click on the 3 dots here at the side, click on new incognito window, and then I want you to search for, if you're in the area, bar near me, or whatever your business is, search for something that is relative to your business. How do you show up? I just want you to rank yourself in the chat on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being you are awesome when you show up everybody's going to want to do business with you. 5 being, nah, there's a lot of improvements to make. We either don't show up at all, or when we do show up, it doesn't actually look that great. Go, just dump that in the chat when you get a second. I'd love to know. Oh, done. I'd love to know how you show up. Slideshow. All right. So the first port of call, your front door, is Google My Business. If you have a local business presence, this is what people look at first. They look at your reviews, they look at what people have said about you, and they look at your imagery. So this is your front door, your digital front door, and making sure you have a great experience for customers when they hit here is going to help Google rank you higher on the page. I'm just going to have a look in the chat and see. So 1, awesome, Trudy. Emma, 5, some work to be done. Okay, we've got one extreme to the other, 1 or 5. There, then we appear right. 1, awesome. All right, so that feeds really well into how Google ranks you. So how Google ranks you is based on a number of things, and this is changing quite quickly. Every week, Google comes out with a new algorithm update. Now, when you search for your business, or when you search for a business like yours, let's say you're a donut shop. If you search for donuts, those top 3 businesses that you see on Google are going to get between them about 70% of the traffic. So if you're not in the top 3 searches, no one's really looking at you. No one's going to your website. So as I've said, what we want to do is get you in those top 3 searches. And these are the things that Google ranks you on. These are the things that Google says, I'm going to get you to number 1, number 2, and number 3. Now, the highest one, or one of the highest ones, is engagement. So go back to Google Analytics 4 that we talked about earlier on. How engaged people are in your website is going to help with your Google ranking. So if you've got great content, you've got great reviews, you've got a great images on your site, people are going to click more, they're going to spend more time, and therefore Google is then going to rank you higher. The second piece, and the one I want to quickly cover off before we get to case studies, is your content. So your content is so important for Google to understand how to rank you. So let's say, for instance, and one of the case studies we've got coming on is a case study called Travel World, and they sell excursions to and safaris. Sean he'll explain it a lot better than I can, but they sell excursions and safaris, travel packages essentially. Now, let's say, for instance, you sell travel packages. What are people looking for when they want a travel package? The first thing I'm going to search for is trip to Kenya, or so they sell safaris. So I might want to go to Kenya and do a safari. You know that if I'm searching for Safari Kenya and you sell safaris in Kenya, you know that I am your target. You know that that's what I'm looking for. So go back to your keywords and make sure they're mapped against what your customers are searching for. Now, this is where the game change comes in. This is where it gets really exciting. So for me, the biggest thing that ChatGPT can offer us as small businesses is the ability to produce high quality content that Google is going to rank. And I'm going to show you the quickest example before we get into the 2 case studies. So for those of you that haven't signed up and used ChatGPT, I urge you, if there's one thing you get out of today, jump on it, get on the wave. The way in which I use ChatGPT, I can't even say it. The way in which I use it is I use it to write my articles for me. So you can see here I've put, act as a world-leading writer, write me a 500-word article on traveling to Kenya. ChatGPT is all about the prompts. So the better your prompts are, the better the output will be. You put rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out. The more you can describe your customer, the better you're going to get a response. So going back to customer keywords, if you can describe who they are, you're going to get a much better response. But this one is not bad, considering I haven't described their customer. A world-renowned traveler, I've traversed the globe and experienced countless wonders. So it talks about the journey to Kenya, talks about Nairobi, it talks about the Maasai tribe, talks about the coastline. Now, what I have then done is added in, optimize this article for SEO using the keyword safari, because if we go back to the keyword I was searching for, I searched for safari. So Kenya is an unforgettable safari adventure in a land of natural beauty. So it's now optimized this for SEO. This is 90% good to go. The only thing I would go back and add in is more of my branding. So more of my content around my brand. So ChatGPT is going to cut so much time and effort and allows you to compete with the big brands, the people that have got, you know, huge SEO teams doing this stuff for you. All right, so I mentioned before, and God, this time goes quickly. I mentioned before that this is about action. I would just like you to jot down 3 actions that you're going to take out of that. So is it Google My Business that you're going to review? Are you going to write some content for ChatGPT, or are you going to look at adding reviews to your website? Whatever it might be, write your 3 actions, send them to me. I'd love to hold you accountable for them. All right, so we have 2 case studies. The first one is Travel World. So Journeys Wide World, Travel Journeys Wide World. They do travel journeys to Kenya. Have you managed to get them on, Rachel? Founded by Sean. Just let me know when Sean's in. So Sean's website is basically a website brochure type site. So for those of you that have brochure sites, this is going to be really valuable to you. So let me know when Sean's on, but to save time, I'm just going to keep talking. So the first thing, Sean, for you is, I would say, is your imagery is awesome. Oh, there you are, Sean. Hi. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. I love your site, by the way. Kenya's on my bucket list, so I'm
Excellent.
super excited about reviewing this. So you just want to quickly introduce your business?
Okay, the business has been going for over 30 years. I bought it about 5 years ago, so just in time for COVID to hit us. Took a massive knock, as did all travel companies, and now we're rebuilding. So primarily, it's all outbound, well, primarily outward bound, going primarily Africa, Asia, high amount of return clients. So we're doing the rest of the world as well. So kind of looking towards niche into specialized soft adventure, high-end tourism.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. And who's your ideal customer?
I've been building up a few avatars. So ideally, people who've obviously got a fair bit of money. So either couples, dual income, no kids, or retired empty nesters and retired folks.
Amazing. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'd say is I love the imagery. The imagery looks awesome. It gives me a real kind of real world experience of what I'm going to see. What I would integrate is your customer. So if your customer is your dinks, double income, no kids, if it is your retirees, then I would integrate images of them in this environment, having a beautiful experience. So help me to picture myself in that environment. But the safari images, the animal images, the tent images are all things that I aspire to be doing. So I love them. Second thing I would say is we can't see below the fold. So we talk about below the fold being anything down below here. So what we need to do is just reduce the height of that so we can see below, so we can see there's more stuff to your website, so that it makes me want to scroll and engage with it. On here, I would add call to action. So a button that says book now. inquire now. Adding some kind of scarcity in there as well, you know, limited spaces would also help drive that kind of engagement for you. So this top, the three things I would do on this top one is book now or an inquire now button, which would take me straight to a call or yeah, absolutely. And then below here, I would start to add in some social proof. So why you? Sean, I mean, your story's amazing. The fact that you grew up, you know, that your background, you grew up there, you know, you're an award winner for running these tours is all amazing. I would try and work out some iconography that can depict that really quickly, because again, you know, I come back to, as customers, we're super lazy people. We don't want to read lots and lots of detail. So if you can use some icons just to depict that, it's going to make it really easy for me to see award winner, run 200, you know, 1,000 tours, 800 happy customers. If you can do that really succinctly, it's going to make it easier for me to then move to the next step and engage with you more. I love that you've got testimonials down here. They're just really old testimonials, so I would take the dates off them. Just remove any dates, because then I don't have to think, well, is this site still running? You know, is it an old site? If you can put some video on your website, I'm sure you have some insanely amazing video that you could potentially put on the homepage to give me that I'm there, I've been there, I'm there now experience. You've got some movement down here, which is awesome, but actually a video of some video up here of here's what we do would be great. I think your private journeys are great. Again, I think one thing we can add in here is a bit more kind of travel type content. So going back to the ChatGPT example I just talked about, adding in a little bit more content around that travel and experiences. Main thing for me on yours is more call to actions. Just get people to take action, because at this point I'm looking around for the best travel company to do what I want them to do. Right. You have all of the experience, you have all of the credentials. You just need to bring it out a little bit more and then give me a call to action.
Okay.
Awesome. Excellent. Was that helpful?
Very. Got a few things to do there. Thanks.
Few things to do. Look, give me a shout, Sean, if there's anything else I can help with on that. I love what you're doing. I love the experience, and it's top of my bucket list as well. Awesome. Right. All right.
Thanks, Kelly.
No problem. Now, I think we're going to move straight to questions, because I've noticed that there are a lot of questions in here. So rather than moving on to the next site, Vesna from, we did have Vesna on from the Fresh Flower Company. Vesna, I will give you some private feedback. So I'll do after this, I'll drop you an email with some feedback. But I love your site. You know, I think your product is absolutely stunning. Again, I think it's some really strong call to actions, and I think there's some tweaks and changes we can make on the reviews. But I'm going to get into the questions because I want to make sure that we cover some of these off. All right, so let me just open that up. Is mobile traffic and mobile purchase both 60%? That was a question from Cindy. Cindy, no, unfortunately, because we're doing mobile experiences so badly at the moment, mobile traffic is 60 to 70%, but conversion rate is extremely low. So again, one of the actions I would love you all to take from this session is to jump on your mobile and have a look at your experience on mobile. Is it easy for you to do what you need to do on a mobile phone? Is it easy for your customers to engage with you on a mobile phone? All right. Companies spending too much money on acquisition. It is too expensive due to noise in the digital landscape. It is, which is why we need to build our own databases. So the way you're going to reduce your cost of acquisition is, firstly, know your customer. So make sure you're constantly checking in with who that customer is. The second way to do that is to build your own database. So make sure that you are building your own email list, whether that's through competitions, whether that's through allowing people to sign up on your website. Selvi, will you maintain data if you do change over to GA4? So the change from Google Analytics old platform to new platform will not bring the data across. So at some time in the near future, July is the cutoff date. That's when everyone has to move. You'll just lose everything. At some point after that, Google will remove the data that you've got. So all that wonderful historic data, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a complete geek, a data geek. For all of that wonderful historic data that is going to help you going forward, it will be lost. So make sure you download and save that data. My question is, okay, so Matt, all very good points, thank you. My question is, how do I apply this thinking to, it keeps moving because there's more questions coming in, to fundraising, particularly around searches. So Matt, I've done a lot of work with charities, refugee organisation, Global Sisters, organisations fighting modern slavery. It's exactly the same concept applied. Think about who your customer is and think about what they're looking for. People are searching for charitable gifts all the time. We've seen a huge increase in people searching for charity gifts or sponsorship. So as alternative gifts or corporate giving, one of the biggest trends we've seen is people searching for things like sponsor a child or donate to an organization. So look for searches around that you might be able to use to grow your traffic. How do you increase engagement, Sam? So engagement increase is kind of the stuff I talked about in terms of just creating great content that people want to look at. Good imagery, using things like ChatGPT to actually write great content. As a world-renowned travel writer, making sure that people, it's stuff that people want to engage with. Trudy, we've been told by external web provider that Google punishes you if you use ChatGPT. Absolutely not. Google's got its own AI version, and this is one of these myths that actually frustrate me in the industry, because people are using this to kind of tell you that ChatGPT shouldn't be used. Google cannot tell. If you go on and have a look at that article that I just wrote about travel, it's better than some of the articles that are written by humans. Google will not punish you for using ChatGPT. It's launched its own AI platform. The answer is absolutely not. How can you get the source of the content on ChatGPT? When you say source of content, Federico, I'm not sure I understand the question. But if you want to follow up with me on email, you can do. I'm not sure I understand that question, sorry. If you have lots of audiences, how do you prioritize them? Great question, Sarah. So having worked with, some of the biggest brands in Australia and gone through this process, they've got six, seven personas. I always go for the one that spends the most money and is the easiest to convert. That's my top customer. So that's the number one I address, and then everyone else kind of comes below that. So who are I used to say sneezers until COVID hit, but we don't use that term anymore. Who are the people that talk about you the most, that love your brand the most, and spend the most money with you? Get those people, replicate them. You're going to earn more money off your online presence. How do you show up in Google Local when you are a national marketplace for local businesses? How do you show up in Google Local when you are a national marketplace? It's really hard. One thing you can do on your actual website is have pages for each of the suburbs that you actually service. So let's say, for instance, you service the whole of Australia, you sell baked goods, but you deliver to Sydney. You would have a baked goods or donuts Sydney page and you would talk to local content based in Sydney. That's one of the main ways we do it in SEO. Any good tutorial material on Instagram ads? I created a local Instagram ad with around 700k target audience. However, the ad spend so far is 0. And I'm wondering why. Maybe I did the wrong thing. Winnie, can we follow up on that question? There is some great, but you need to, the main thing I would say is your 700k target audience. Is that aligned to the persona that you've created? And if you haven't created a persona, I would go back and look at that. What are the key things that they're searching for? So the key things they're searching for in Google, you'll probably find that they're searching for in Instagram. It's hard because I don't know what your business is. So it's hard for me to tell you the key things you should target your audience with. But if you go back to the key things they're searching for, that should give you a good indicator. Google ads are costing you a lot. What's the alternative? So there's lots of alternatives. The first one is build your own database is my number one. Second thing is make sure your Google business page, that you are making the most out of it. Facebook ads, it really depends on, again, your customer. So for some customers, Facebook ads might be the right way to go, because Facebook ads, you can be a lot more targeted. You can really target and home in on customer attributes. So it might be Facebook ads. Again, without knowing your specific business, it's hard to say. Since I think a big problem of ChatGPT is that it writes the text without citing where the information comes from. It's true. And you know what? For me, ChatGPT works when you add in human. You have to connect human to artificial intelligence for it to work really effectively. So Federico, in this example, and it's a great statement, in this example, I would always be rereading it. And if there's things in there that are stats, for instance, I would go and find those stats or take them out. You know, you have to go back and review it in detail. And that's why, you know, it doesn't take 10 minutes. It still takes me half an hour to write an article, because I'll go through and read through it in detail to make sure it's on brand, it's got the right keywords, and the stats and information are the right stats and information that I'm putting out into the market. Which social media platforms do you recommend in 2023? I absolutely recommend the right ones for your customers. So it depends where your customers are. You know, younger generation is very much TikTok. You know, we've got a big group of kind of, you know, if we're looking at older generation, Facebook tends to work really well. It depends on who your customers are and what it is they're looking for as well. People will tend to look for restaurants on Instagram and Google, you know, less so on Facebook. So it's just looking at what's your product, what's your positioning, and who your customer is. Best way to save Google history before migrating to GA4. So in your Google account, you can actually go and download all your Google history. And I would just save it on a Google Drive. I would save it wherever your safe place is to save documents. I would save it there. All right, we've got like 4 minutes left. I'm going to answer one more question. I'm just going through them. You're an online, Catherine, online swimwear label, so not location specific. How do we compete on against bigger brands? This is what I love about technology, is an online swimwear can compete against, you know, a massive major brand. And it doesn't have to be about location. It's all about the content. So actually looking at keywords, if you have a specific niche you target, or a particular shape, or a particular cut that you target, actually getting really granular. You know, do you do high-waisted? Do you do you know, low cut, or whatever it is, getting really granular on those keywords and then developing content around those. I've worked with brands where, you know, we've competed with big brands and we've got to number into the top 3 within 3 or 4 weeks by writing specific content that relates to the customer. So if you can write customer content, Google's going to serve you up. How do I improve near me search results for a restaurant? Okay, so one of the restaurants I've worked with over the years is Lovefish, which is the best seafood restaurant, amazing seafood restaurant based in Barangaroo. If you search for seafood restaurant Barangaroo, they come up number 1. Yes, High Waist Catherine, perfect. You basically need to talk to being the best seafood restaurant or the best restaurant, whatever it is. You need to get your customers to write reviews for you, and you need to put content on that talks to the location that you are based in. That's kind of the format and formula we've followed over the last year or so to get them ranking number 1 in Google for seafood restaurant in Barangaroo. All right, that was a lot. I hope everyone's got value out of that. If everyone could stick in the chat the one action they are going to take as a result of this, would be really, really helpful for me to see that this has been an action session and not just a talk fest. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Next week, we have the amazing Taryn Williams, amazing founder of Gifted, Wink Models, the influencer agency, and the Right Fit. And she's going to tell you how to build your business and brand using influencers. And we're going to cover creatives. You've been amazing. Thank you so much. I can see in the chat that people are going to be looking at GA4, ChatGPT. I really appreciate your time and taking time out to join this session. Don't forget to fill in the survey. I also just want to quickly tell you about another series that City of Sydney is putting together. So let me just quickly share my screen with you. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to share my screen. That keeps coming up. All right. So City of Sydney have put together an innovation program. It's a 12-week accelerator. You get one-on-one mentoring, bootcamp sessions, workshops, fortnight online sessions. It's 100% free. And it's open to 20 motivated business owners in the City of Sydney. It starts the 1st of May and applications close on the 3rd of April. So if anyone wants to apply for that, jump on the link that the wonderful Rachel, will put in the chat. And you can apply for that as a free business support program that is being run by the City of Sydney. I hope that's been valuable to you. I really appreciate your time. I want to thank the City of Sydney for putting on the event and allowing me to host and speak today. I love sharing knowledge with you guys. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great week.